All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy, and I'm here with Shane. And we have Clyde Holokai. He's a retired assistant police chief from the Maui Police Department. And he's been a great source in filling us in with what's going on within the Maui Police Department. He has some new updates for us today. But before we get started, if you are new here, please subscribe before you leave. Also, like, comment, and share this video with as many people as you can so we can get the word out. And if you would like to support the channel, you can send a super chat or a super thanks, or send either Shane or I a donation through our Venmo link in the description. Okay, so with that, welcome Shane and Clyde. Clyde, thank you so much for being here again. We really appreciate all of your expertise, and he's really good at keeping us updated with, things coming up regarding the current police chief, John Pelletier. So he has some information about his recent yearly review. So how about we start out with his glowing job review that was posted recently. So how do those work? And give us a little bit about how this report is normally rolled out to the public versus how it has been recently.
It's normally rolled out. Every other chief has been on pretty much every newspaper and social media outlet that's local here, Maui News and things like that. This is his second one. His first evaluation, they didn't roll anything out, and they had said something to the effect of that it was his choice. It's never been the chief's choice before, but now it's his choice. The second one got rolled out only through Civil Beat. No Maui News, no Maui Now, no other type of sources or anything like that. I'm not sure why, but that's how they did it this time.
Right, because it's a public position. These documents should be public, right? Is
Yes,
that how it works?
yes.
Okay. So when it comes to the yearly review, who and how is he being judged? So who are the people behind that, and what are some of the criteria that they use?
The Police Commission here in Maui are the ones that do the annual review. As far as for criteria, I'm not sure what they use for criteria. I know a part of it is any significant things that the chief himself has accomplished throughout the year. Um, but a bigger part, and this is what they're here for, and they should be, so that we can get better, is pointing out if there was anything that was lacking, any improvement can be made. Um, and this one was even noted in Civil Beat how there was no mention of anything that happened with regards to the fire. No mention,
Right.
but whether he did good or he didn't do nothing, they just glossed over that. And mind you, he still has 9 lawsuits pending against him,
Do
and
you
I
see anything about that in there?
nothing. And I know for a fact that at least 2 of those lawsuits he was found to have been guilty. I mean, independent investigations into those lawsuits, he was found to have violated policy. He was found not credible by the independent investigator. And that's not mentioned either. You have a chief that's coming out, and the independent investigator, not even living on the island, is calling him not credible. That should be on the evaluation, and that could cause concern.
Right. Something that you pointed out that kind of relates to this is that every chief has the responsibility of producing a 5-year plan. Is
Yes,
that
let me tell you
right?
how that works. Yes, in fact, the previous chief, Tivo Faomu, when he went in for his with the last police commission, that was a part of his presentation. It wasn't just an interview. It was, here is my 5-year plan to where I'm going to lead the department in 5 years. So the fact that he's saying that he's the only one, he's the first one that ever presented a strategic 5-year plan is just a lie. I've created how it works is normally you have a commander in every section Okay, and it goes upwards. So you have from our sergeants to lieutenants to the captains, the reports go upwards. You get your monthly reports, you get your annual reports in every district, and they're compiled by the district commanders, the unit commanders. Then that goes up to the assistant chief. The assistant chief of each bureau compiles a lengthy report with everything that he has from his bureau in it. That goes to the chief, and he uses that to assess the coming needs in the next 5 years. Each division commander needs to do a strategic 5 year plan from his own division: vice, criminal investigations, internal affairs, and every patrol district. I've had to create several of them myself. We have our thumb on the pulse of each of our units, so we know what is needed or what should be projected coming down the pipe. Now, what this chief has done is he went outside the department and hired a, I'm not sure if you call it a publicity firm or something like that, to go to the patrol districts, the specialized units, ask them what they thought the needs were, and they compiled. And you see right here, this cost the county $110,000 for a strategic plan. Never before has the county have to pay for a strategic plan that the chief himself should be compiling. Yeah.
Who approves that kind of cost?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who approves a cost like that?
I'm not sure who it is.
Okay.
Usually, with such a large cost like that, usually you would have to go through county council, get approval, things like that. But this one was done so quick, I'm not sure how he did it. But I do know who paid for it, and that's the taxpayers.
From Maui County?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the thing is, he's hiring people to go out and be in touch with his officers. That's something he should be doing. He himself should be intimately, up to date with the wants and needs of his people. And I know it's not easy, definitely. The higher I got, the harder it was. But you do that just by sitting down with them, by talking to them, looking at their reports. And that was one of the things that I remember sitting there in meetings with he and his deputy when they would start to see our monthly reports coming through from our sectors, and they laughed at us. This is too much. We don't need that. And now yet they have to not only hire a company to do it, but tell everybody that this is the first time. It's not. It's not. And he keeps mentioning this, that in every Fortune 500 company, you should already. This is not a Fortune 500 company. Correct me if I'm wrong, but with them, the goal is to make money. That's not our goal. To serve the community. How are you serving the community when you're costing them $110,000 for something that you should be able to do yourself with no cost? Other chief has done it ever. Charged the community taxpayers to the first time. He's right there. First time that this has happened.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of money for a plan.
Yes.
Right, because I know when I was in the corporate environment, we all did like a 3-month, 1-year plan. And yeah, I never heard of anyone paying anyone or having someone else do it for them.
Yes.
It's supposed to be from their perspective.
Definitely. And if you look at, some of the major concerns in the plan was morale, recruitment. We know that already.
Yeah.
You don't somebody 6 figures to figure that out. Okay, we know that's the concerns. How are we going to fix it? Is the concern. That is what we want to see. Now, the last thing that Peltier has come up with was in order to help address this, was to get a space at Kahumanu Shopping Center, costing the taxpayers $4,000 a month. Here's his reasoning. I want to make it less intimidating for people to come. And some people are intimidated by coming to the police station. What kind of cops are we recruiting?
They're afraid to come to the police station.
What kind of? This is a job. I remember when I was a recruit, and they had us in the weight room, and we're doing workouts, and in walks Keku Hopio Akana. Mountain of a man. Recruits, you give up many things in this job. One of them is to be empowered by fear.
Mhm.
You're gonna get scared in this job. There were times where I thought I wasn't going home. That doesn't stop us.
Right.
You're babying them before they even coming in. How are they going
Right.
to community? And next time they're, oh, I don't want to go to that. I'm scared. That intimidates you. You see, we deal with intimidating people out there. A lot of Polynesians that are just humongous
Mhm.
that can't stop us,
Yeah.
you know. But that's going to
Mm-hmm.
cost taxpayers $4,000 a month, and that was applauded by the Police Commission.
So they were supporting that.
Yes,
Okay. So that brings up another issue that's been going on for at least a few years, and that is the staffing problems, the difficulty keeping the department fully staffed. And I believe the department is still very understaffed. So can you touch a little on how that happened, and why do you think it's so hard to keep, officers
let's
within the
go.
department?
The stuff I'm going to go over now, mind you, is coming from open source. Took me about 20 minutes to find it. It was either Civil Beat or Maui Now. And I bring that up for a reason because the commission does not question him and they don't dig, and they should. It would take them 5 minutes. Right now, when he took over the department, there was 100 vacancies. We're up to 188. And that's
Mm,
reported through open source. Okay. As of this point, we have 21 people that resigned and 13 that retired. Now, a retirement in a year, 3 retirements is a lot. We've had 13 since he came here. And
Wow.
people, now, here's the thing. When you look at that too, he's being graded not just on recruitment, but on retention. That's a big
mm,
part. You know, that is a big part of it. I know that there are several people who tried to resign, and he asked, "What can I do to make you stay?" But those were only a few people that, for lack of a better term, were on his team.
mhm.
It could be for everybody. And
Right.
the numbers, again, coming from open source in 2021. Now, remember, now this is COVID time, right? Almost, it's the ending of COVID. We had a staff of about 4 people in our community relations section. 10% of their time was completely dedicated to recruitment. The rest was dealing with, the COVID lines and testing and, just other things and teaching. That year, they brought in 938 people. Out of that, 11 people passed the vetting process. Okay, now, here's the thing with the recruitment. Their job is to bring the people to the door. That's it. The 938 was what they did. In a year, who was still recovering from COVID, they weren't really, and they were teaching 10%. I mean, they were recruiting 10% of their time. Let's remember that. Okay? There was no stats in 2022. In 2023, by 2023, the chief had removed this entire unit. And then he brought up 2 or 3 people from patrol. Now, where we're so short, right? You're going to take people from that
Mm-hmm.
section. Two or three people from patrol dedicated 100% of their time to recruitment. In 2023, they brought in 585 people.
Mhm.
The numbers. I don't know how many people made it? 25. Why did more people
Much
make it?
higher.
Again, we're looking at the recruitment's team job is just to bring it to the door. Bring them to the door. Once they come to the door, they have to do with a physical assessment, psychological assessment, an interview, polygraph, drug tests, all before they get the okay. So the internal process had changed. If you read one of the issues, one of the links I sent you from the Civil Beat, the chief is talking about how somebody failed a psychological exam and he took them anyway.
Mm.
If that is not dropping standards, I don't know what is. And
Yeah.
I can explain that the double the amount of people that made it. Now, I like to learn from other people's mistakes. So when I was heavily into teaching and recruiting and things like that, I used to watch California. Because a lot of times what came from there, law enforcement speaking, would follow to Hawaii. And there was a time years ago where they dropped their standards. And then these people ended up 5, 10 years down the line getting indicted, dealing dope on the job, murdering, you name it. And over 300 criminals had to be released because of their faulty indictments because of these people. They dropped standards. Yeah, we had a long recruit class before he came in. We had shortened it to 6 months. He made it shorter to 5. Now, you guys all have cars. If you have a mechanic that goes through a 9-month or a 6-month school, as compared to which one you want showing up at your door to take care of your vehicle?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Longer.
There's a psychological test for officers for a reason. And there have been many times where myself as an assistant chief, I'm sitting across the table from this person that I know. And my years of recruiting, my years of training guys on the mats, I know what it takes to make a cop. A psychological exam comes and the psychologist says nope. And I argue with him. But nope is nope. I failed my psych exam the first time.
Oh, I didn't know it was so difficult to pass.
You know what? Honestly, it should be.
Yeah.
We're dealing with people who can make the decisions ultimately in somebody's life or death.
Right.
Could be. If you're going to let anybody in, what's going to happen? Especially right after they failed a psych. That's it. Again, I've been there where I haven't agreed, but we stand by what the psychologists. I would be frustrated, but we stand by what they said. If not, why do we have them?
Right.
Yes.
So I did read sometime. I don't know if you brought it up, but they're providing very big incentives for people to come and join the police force. I think it was like $5,000 or $10,000 over the course of 2 or 3 years. They have to finish the 3 years or something to get the total amount.
Even that needs to be cleared by county council first. And hasn't been. He's reporting it. He's saying it.
Oh.
But it hasn't, because the money has to be allocated.
Right.
You cannot just I'm going to do this, and somebody, in a few years from now, meets that criteria. Okay, where we're going to get the money? The whole budget of the department has to come through county council. Has to be okayed by county council.
Okay. So
And
that
part
probably doesn't happen.
Yes.
Okay. That explains it. Okay. Shane, do you want to bring up some of the information? I didn't read too closely about the cold cases that he was or Clyde, what was it about the cold
I just bring that up as an example of some of the stuff that's been put out there. Peltier likes to make it appear like he's the messiah of law enforcement coming to save us. That nobody's ever done a 5-year plan. It's incredible. And I'm launching this for the first time. It's a cold case detail. I brought that and I showed that example of we've already had it. When I was the captain of CID, we had people who were working cold cases. And this one, we arrested a man who brutally and a lady out in Kihei. And we tracked him down to Florida. We went out there, worked hand in hand with our prosecutors, went with them, brought him back. Not forget that Charlie Scott case, there was no body. That was one of the cases that one of my cold case detectives worked tirelessly on, and we got a conviction. So for him to come out there and say, there's never been, this is the first time, it's again another misrepresentation of what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of people, and his captain right now of CID was my cold case detective, so he should know.
So I guess this kind of ties into how he has Alana as the mouthpiece for the department because there's only one narrative, and that is coming from him. And there's no opportunity for anyone within the department to speak on it. So whatever he says is what's reported.
Exactly. And if you listen to that recording of the first commanders meeting, he says that we will control the narrative.
Right.
Yes.
So that explains how these stories are coming out as truth. The
Yes.
reader just thinks that's the truth because no
I
one's
mean,
there to argue against that.
even think of the fact that only civil beat is reporting on this, and yet I can't post comments to contradict what they're saying.
Right.
Right, and they can't. That's controlling the narrative.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we're doing this then. So
Yes, thank you so much for your platform. What you guys are doing is so important because it's very frustrating for a lot of us to see this stuff going on and nobody knows. And we have an opportunity here to get the word out. And people ask me before, what are you doing that for? Nothing's going to happen. Maybe not. But people need to know. And as long as it's
Right.
and people are willing to listen, I'll talk.
right. The
Yeah.
public
And
should
more people
know.
are going to see this than probably see Civil Beat anyway.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Okay, and then Shane, before we move on, did you have anything else about the yearly review, cold case, staffing? The last one we have is the $2.3 million helicopter.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about the cold case I just wanted to point out is that Clyde looks much younger in this photo. That's him right there.
I wasn't sure who that was at first.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. I know. I had a shaved head and much younger. That was fun.
Yeah.
That's one of my lieutenants and one of my detectives. They did so much work on these cases. And you know what, too? That detective that you seen, the one in the middle, that's Orange Satterfield. A lot of people talk the talk. Yeah, he's the one with the beard in the middle. He had a picture or several pictures of some of the victims that we were working on. He would not let the families forget. And I was in CID for a little over 2 years as the captain. And he kept in touch with them. And he was the one that really had the honor of telling them, we're going to indict them. That's the
Right.
kind of you get when I feel. So a lot of times I get down and it's like, I see this stuff going on so hard. And it gets frustrating. But for guys like that who are still doing the job, they really want to serve and they're helping. Even that lieutenant right there, Lance Marks, he was my right-hand man when I was there. And he, tirelessly.
Right. Like the percentage of cold cases that are solved, it's very low, right? Like
Yes.
under 5% or something.
Yes. But we were fortunate again to have a detective, not just Oren, but Nelson Hamilton, who's the captain now in CAD. Man, once I just had to let him go. Once I unleashed him, it was just, we're going to do this. Is it okay? Do it. And before I know it, we had 2 indictments, 1 more down the pipe, and 2 or 3 more possibilities coming up. And it's like, let's go, man. Keep going. We don't forget about
So the cold case is something that, you worked on a long time ago, but Peltier is trying to act like it's a new thing that he just did in response to the fire, which is totally false.
Yes. Oh, and another thing about that, he says in that article that he has the these are trained individuals. He took 2 people out of traffic. They're the ones who now here's the thing.
Right.
Good guys. I like them and I know they're hard workers in traffic. I would not be able to conduct the traffic investigation properly like they would. This is homicide you're talking about. It's different.
Right.
Oil and water. And that's why, honestly, when we were working the cold cases, we had to choose a detective correctly. We couldn't just give it to anybody. Because that was a common practice. Whenever you came into CID, you got one case that you would take with you. It was a cold case. You would take with you no matter where you went, as long as you were there. When you left, if you didn't solve it, you turned it over to somebody else. We never got anywhere doing that, because besides that, you're getting pounded with 3 or 4 or 5 cases every week.
Right. Why would he pick someone from traffic to solve on a cold case? Is it a lack of detectives or?
There's a big lack of detectives. There is a big lack of detectives. I can't answer. I don't know. There is,
Yeah.
but there are other people, other sergeants that work there that are very, very knowledgeable. They could handle it,
But they
And
didn't get.
here's the thing: if it was that important to him solving these cold cases, look at the detectives you already have. Pay them overtime, 4 hours twice a week. Look at these cases. Let me know which ones we can solve. Well, let's get on it. You bring
Mm.
somebody else in. What does that send to the detectives? What is the message that those detectives get that are already working there? They're not
They're
important.
not. They're not good enough. Or.
And we get some talented people. There's a detective that works there now, Angela Kaho Hano Hano. She's like a bloodhound. When she was in my on my watch as an officer, I would just have to tell I need this person. By the end of the night, and she would not stop. That's how she works. We have a lot of people like that are working in CID right now. But it just
Mhm.
the feeling across the board, what I'm getting from the people that are still in the department is I'm going to keep my head down. I'm going to do the 8 hours and go home.
Mm.
There's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
things officers do the right thing and they get pounded. They get taken out administrative duty. There's one officer being investigated by the FBI for doing the right thing.
Oh man.
Retaliation.
And yeah, and you cannot tell me these other officers out there don't see that. What does that cause? You have a department that does not want to be proactive. And we as a community here are going to pay for this a long time after Pelletier is gone.
Right. Right. That's
Hmm.
really devastating. I can see why you're not looking to go back to the department. These are
He's
deep-seated problems.
he's changed it. There was a point where I won't lie. I considered, hey, okay, this guy's gonna get in here. It's just a matter of time. They're gonna get him out because he's messing up. And I was thinking about going back. Now it's spread the cancer. How do you fight cancer? You gotta cut it off, right? You
You
gotta take
take
it
it
out.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's spread. The culture, the entire culture of the department is different now. He's done it,
Yeah.
Mm.
and to fix that will take decades at least, if it can be done.
Is the chief position, is that indefinite or is it a limited years? Is there a
I,
limit to
I believe after 5 years they have to make a assessment. I believe. Don't quote me on. I'm not sure, but I do
that?
know that anytime the if anything does happen, the police commission can discipline up to termination,
Okay.
depending.
Okay.
Here's the thing: some of the stuff that he's already been found to have violated, harassment in the workplace, violence in the workplace, those are supposed to be zero tolerance, which means gone. I would say about a year before that, we had a prosecutor who got in trouble for that with one complaint, and he was fired. No ifs, ands, or buts. And now this guy has got found that he violated at least two of them with two separate people, at least. And he's still here. And the commission said he did nothing wrong, but I saw the reports, and the reports are saying that he violated these
Hmm.
things.
So he's doing a good job for the commission, according to the commission.
Right.
And
Yeah. The
that's,
commission says he's doing what they want.
yes, that was Mark Redeker. I remember he said that. And here's the thing to ask yourself, okay? The commission has no say on the day-to-day events or operations of the department. So what did they just admit? That they're running the department. Now they're not
Right.
Mhm.
doing that. And I remember when I made captain or the AC, and we would get commission meetings. There were certain members who wanted more control, more control. But a lot of times, a lot of the stuff they wanted to do was things that really wouldn't have meshed well with our community. For example, one wanted bite dogs in every car. Can you
Mm.
imagine we're from the community?
Wow.
Culturally, one thing I've learned in 28 years of law enforcement is culturally, every place you go is not only culturally different in the community, but more so in the law enforcement. For example, when I went to LA to train some years ago with the sheriffs, I was shocked at how little time they spend on their hand to hand. And then the instructor explained to me, he said, look, if, over here, there's so much guns that if we're going to go hand to hand, we're drawing. Ah, good point. Maui's a little different. We used to spend more time on the hand to hand because we're not there yet, and that was a good thing. An officer here, most times, I would say a good 99% of the time, when we get out of the car, and the guy is going to challenge them physically. We have a very physical culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in LA. I've heard of people getting stopped for, broken tail light, and the guns are drawn when they're pulled over.
Exactly.
I mean, not all the time, but sometimes it's
Yeah,
happening.
it's a different culture, but you have to know the difference. There's no cookie cutter plan that's going to work from one department to the next. Some of the differences might be big, some might be very subtle, but you need to know the differences in order to best serve the community. And this guy,
Right.
especially with this latest thing coming up about the helicopter.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So tell us a little bit about this request for a $2.3 million helicopter.
Helicopter, man, and it's supposed to be for rescues and firefighting and nighttime. Now, here's the thing: we already have one for those specific needs, and that's through the fire department. And that helicopter is very active. Now, what's not being said is not just for the helicopter that price, but now what else you have to plan for: maintenance, training, fuel. You need at least
Right.
one, and you need to put them on standby. Now, if he's going to use it for law enforcement purposes, traditionally law enforcement purposes, if you're not going to use them for arrest, it's for pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Car pursuit. How many car chases do we have at night? We have them, but not that much. Enough to justify spending millions of dollars on something? I don't think so.
Right. Yeah, we
And
do have a news clip that you sent us about the helicopter that quoted it was like a couple million at least for the maintenance.
yeah, and we already have one. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Now, say I'm chasing. Well, first of all, people think that officers can just chase whatever. No, that's very dangerous, and they're very handcuffed when it comes to that. Has to be for felony. You cannot know who the person is. There's a long nice list of criteria. Okay, you cannot just chase traffic violations. You know, cannot be petty There's a lot of things because it's so dangerous, right? So
It's
if
the
I
public at risk.
pass all of that and I'm able to pursue, that's only with the authority of my supervisor. They have to come on the air and say, go. Other than that, we're not supposed to be pursuing. Now, if we do that, and as I initiate the pursuit, there's going to be a time where I think I got them or no, I don't. So let's give that a minute or two, right? How long does it take to notify the pilot, get him to the bird, get the bird warmed up and ready to go safety check and up in the air? At least 20, 30 minutes, I'm thinking. I used to work for Papillon Helicopters before I was in the department. And that checklist alone, you look at 15, 20 minutes. And it should be that way. You know?
Right.
So by that time, are we still chasing? Highly unlikely. Now let's look at foot pursuits. We can chase more for foot pursuits than we can for vehicle pursuits, right? Again, you're looking at another 20, let's go 20 minutes. Most times we've either caught them or they got away.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it for?
Well, they're
That's a good
turning
question.
Maui into a police state.
That's another thing too. Where's the airport located? Right.
Kahului?
Where's the no-fly zones? You cannot fly certain around the airport. That takes out almost all of Kahului.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I cannot count how many times the fire chopper has been downed because it's too dangerous to fly at night. But yet we have, this is the dangerous part right here. We have a council member, right, in the article already backing him.
Right.
Johnson, was that?
Yeah.
So he wants it.
But does he not know that we already have him? Does he not know? He might not know all these other factors. And, I will give credit where credit is due. There is some council members who really didn't know. And when you explain to them, oh, okay, then they understand better. But he should know that we have a chopper with Maui Fire Department that does, and they're good at what they do. And if we're going to be doing rescues, again, here's training for guys now. We got to have our guys train how to rescue, how to rappel, how do we put down and carrying. Do we have the manpower for that when we cannot adequately man our patrol section?
Right.
Yeah, and then they use the after action report for the fire as a sort of a justification for this too, right? As supporting to support this need.
Yes. Well, again, let's look at that though. Why didn't we have a chopper that day? The winds. The winds were crazy. I was on the other side of the mountain. I was all proud that day. I put up my first flag in my house, my American flags outside, and it bent because of the wind. I had a friend who went out there to help fight the fire with his water truck, and he had to accelerate to 65 miles an hour to get away from the flames.
Mm.
The chopper didn't go out that day because of the winds. It did go up to Kula, help fight the fire up there, but even then,
he did come back early because he didn't think it was safe. I did see that in the report.
Yes, exactly. So he can say that all he wants. It's just when you look at comments, he doesn't understand. This is what people don't realize. A captain here does a lot of the stuff that other commanders would do. They do budget. They do they're involved in the hiring process. Which I gotta get. There's one thing I want to say before I forget about that. In the hiring process, after the physical part, there's an interview. The interview used to consist of an assistant chief and 2 captains. There's multiple reasons behind that. Okay, first of all, when we get their paperwork with all their information on it, including their background, a lot of times there's confidential stuff that you only should be looking at a certain level. Okay. Secondly, by that point, you have captains, once in a while lieutenant, because they'll be acting, okay, and an AC. It's safe to say we have a pretty good idea, non-biasedly, what are the characteristics that would make a good cop. The very first thing he did was get rid of them all. Now you have officers, sergeants, lieutenants. Tracy, if you're an applicant, I'm an officer. You might be working next to me. I see your file. I know your history. I know if you had drug arrests. I know all that. Mm-hmm. Then he said he supplies the questions. He cannot ask anything that does not come from him. I was taught that the interview is the most important tool we have in the vetting process, because we can really gauge what kind of person. I always used to like to give scenarios. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Because it makes them think on their feet, which is a very important thing you need as an officer.
Mm-hmm.
But he took all that away. Before, that was a part of it where there was a good portion of people who didn't pass. And I can only imagine the percentage that are passing now.
Is it mainly the staffing? He wants to hire more people more easily.
Yes, and we want the right people. You want the right people because you're going to end up paying for that in more ways than one down the line. The community, the community in the long run is going to pay for all these bad decisions. But start that before I forgot, because I forgot to say it earlier. But that's all a part of it, controlling the narrative again, right? Trying to take it, and it looks like when he speaks, it looks like he's doing better. But ultimately, even the numbers that are reported, and again, this is open source. This will take 2 minutes for the police commissioners to look it up, but they don't question it.
Right. Just like how he lied on the resume that he was the incident commander for Vegas, and that's coming out now.
Good. I'm glad. The truth needs to. The truth really needs to.
Yeah. I just thought of something that I meant to ask. I didn't put it on the notes. Sorry, Shane. But the Kauai police chief leaving his gun in the stall twice. Like, how serious of a infraction is that, and how often does something like that happen?
That's a that's a pretty. Did you see the follow up to that? There are two follow
Um,
ups done. They have a former assistant chief that's now working for Shopo, the union over there. That I was supposed to
Mhm.
be, but that was harpooned.
Oh,
Anyway, Roy Asher, great guy, great. He's doing a great job, really standing up for the people and the officers. So in the initial release by that chief, they had said, "Yes, I did. I apologize, and I give him that much. He comes clean and he takes accountability." But what was said after that was it was a secured bathroom,
all
and
right.
the follow up, Roy went and did an article where no, this is outside. We have tours that go in here of kids, all that kind of stuff. And now there's another.
suspects.
I'm sorry.
Even possibly suspects would have access.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now there's another one that they interviewed Roy on. And he's talking about how officers that reported the gun are now being retaliated against. And
Yeah, I heard
Right.
doesn't just say it; he provides documentation and he provides examples of how.
that. So he's being protected. Normally, what would happen to an officer who left his weapon in the stall twice?
You could get terminated over that. Definitely, one thing I will say is the Kauai PD's Police Commission seems to be a little bit more upfront about things. They even suspended him not too long ago. It was when he first got here, well, 5 days, I believe, for making some kind of comment that he shouldn't have made. So
Right.
do look. At least they look into it. At least they take action.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that at the very least, all we want is a commission that is fair. That's all. you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that does remind me of the complaint that you had sent, and I will show it here briefly. And it does also cover the fact that he lied on his resume, but there's various other things in here too.
I
Um,
have it here someplace too. Let me pull it up too. That was actually pretty early on, and the person who wrote that I know didn't send it because they were discouraged by the lack of action by the commission in previous ones.
right.
Total his
Yeah, I'm looking
car.
at it here. Yeah. And they do mention the fact that, he lied on the resume about being incident commander, but they go into a bunch of other things too. Also about how he fired Melissa.
Yeah,
Highest ranking female.
Yeah, as retaliation for speaking out.
yep.
So people are just very discouraged for saying anything at this point.
Oh yeah, they know he's made examples. Some of that's going to start coming out though. With these lawsuits coming, and I believe some of the newscasts will be focusing on certain things. We have like one or two investigative journalists out here who they're really good. They're doing the right
Looking into stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Well,
this should be early.
I hope one day something does come about these complaints and something eventually will be done, but
Right.
was there anything else, Shane, that you had that we didn't cover?
Well, we talked about Pelletier, and we also mentioned the Kauai chief, and it just seems like they're bringing these Vegas chiefs to Hawaii, perhaps for a reason, and it's almost like they're perhaps trying to bring the culture of the ninth island to the rest of the islands.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like, unfortunately. If that becomes something that's a little bit more cemented, a lot of people are going to be leaving. I mean, I have my son coming back for his senior year here, and I asked, "What you going to do?" "I'm going to go military. When I come back, I want to be an officer." I'm like, "You have my name. You will have,"
Hmm.
So as much as it hurts me, I'd rather him go someplace else.
Mm.
Not just because he carries my name and because he's going to be discriminated. I believe he's going to be, discriminated against. But
Well,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
it's really sad. By the time people really open their eyes, it's going to be too late. And it kind of already is. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
that's really sad how quickly things changed in the wrong direction. But is there anything else, Clyde, that you wanted to share before we close out?
There was one. Oh, real quick, the Shopo survey.
Yeah.
That done because of an outcry from its members.
Okay.
That together, and it was totally ignored by the police commission. You cannot trust it.
Right.
Some of Shopo did it, so you cannot trust it. We'll do our own, and they never did. And if you look at in this complaint here, it's voiced by and that was early on. So you know what? A lot of the people who were either on the fence or is against, and there's for a lot of the people who might have been on the fence or for him because they didn't know they were willing to give him a chance. You know, were higher back then. Now it's different. People are starting to see.
Is there anything else the union can do about it?
Hard, you know. I know the president over here of the union on Maui has been doing everything he can. But it's just at this point it's he's being guided by others how to circumvent the union handbook. Not right, but it's happening. And all personal things, you know. So
yeah,
it's happening. But
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
Well, as long as we can, we'd love to continue reporting on this information, and we really appreciate you, your bravery and your willingness to come forward and speak for people who can't speak for themselves. So again, thank you, Clyde, so much, and I'm sure we will see you again. And for everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you were here for the premiere and the live chat, thank you so much. We really appreciate the participation and hearing the questions and comments. So with that, I will say goodbye and thank you, Clyde and Shane, for being here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.